Hello and welcome to the Small Cap Show. I'm your host, David Scott. Today I'll be speaking with two company chief executives. One is Peter McGrath from CommsGroup, fresh off a deal with Vodafone announced yesterday. And the other is Murray Hill from Elevate Uranium, of course, a very exciting space at the moment. So plenty of questions to go and dig into there. Well, let's get to our next small cap C-suite guest. And global cloud communications company CommsGroup has signed a global agreement with Vodafone to provide wholesale telecom services to its customers. Now, the services include Microsoft Teams calling and hardware-based solutions. To tell us more, we're joined by Chief Executive Peter McGrath here on the program. Peter, thanks for joining us here on the Small Caps Show. Look, I want to know about your story as well. Tell us a little bit about how you came about.
Yeah, so, well, look, a bit of my background. I've been involved in the telco industry for many years and have run a number of businesses, including listed businesses such as UECom and then NextGen Group. Been involved with the CEO role here for about 3 years. And look, it's a really exciting business. We're the only Australian listed company, in fact, only Australian company that provides global Microsoft Teams calling. And you can see a bit of our network in the background there, and that's some of our nodes around the world. And the history there is we've had a team of people, engineers predominantly, who've built this global network. And now we're out there competing on the global landscape, selling services to some of the world's biggest organisations and providing them connectivity between their key offices with the latest technology, which is called unified communications. So we've announced yesterday this win, or this contract, if you like, supply agreement with Vodafone Global Enterprise, headquartered out of London. We're going to partner with Vodafone to provide these global Microsoft Teams calling services to their key customers globally. We need to mobilise, obviously, and put resources on for that, including resources in the Northern Hemisphere. But from our perspective, we're just delighted with this outcome. We've been working with them for quite a few months. We had to work hard to get the contracts in place, etc. But it's really testament to the team that we have here in CommsGroup today.
So the investment to go and make this deal happen, what do you need to go and put in place, both people-wise and monetary-wise, to go and make it happen?
Okay, so you can see the picture of our network there. So we already have a global network where we can offer services in over 100 countries today. So if you're a global multinational or a small medium business in Australia that has offices around the world, we can connect you with the latest technology, being Microsoft Teams calling. Microsoft Teams have done an exceptional job there, or Microsoft have, with their Teams service. They're up to about 60 million users of that particular application, and it has a very good calling connection. In other words, you can use it to make and receive telephone calls and move all of your office communications onto Microsoft Teams calling. In our case, we already have the connections to Microsoft globally around the world. What we're doing now is working through enhancing those connections, upgrading the capacity, and providing the key systems that are required to interface with Vodafone. We estimate our capex to do that as circa $500,000 to $1 million, and most of that work is underway currently. And also we'll be putting people on the ground in the Northern Hemisphere. We currently have staff across the Asia Pacific region in Singapore, Philippines, obviously in Australia, in Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria, but we'll be upping our staff numbers in the Northern Hemisphere, initially out of London, to support Vodafone with this important contract.
I know it's got an initial 3-year term. When it comes to how material it will be when it comes to revenue and earnings, have you got any number in mind there? Because I'm just looking in light of what the share price reaction was yesterday. Initially bounced very strongly, but then came back down to worse. So can you give us any more meat on the bones?
Yeah, look, it is based on numbers of users that are connected, and to a large extent that's based on those particular customers coming on board. We've said that we believe this will be material for us. So in terms of numbers, if we look at our current annualized revenue, which is circa 50 million plus, what we're indicating is it's going to be a material number with respect to revenue. It will also be a material number with respect to profit. We make good margins on these types of services. In terms of dollars specifically, obviously it's based on predictions of the future. That's a lot harder, but we are saying that this is a significant and material contract for us. So we would expect the revenues to be in the millions of dollars from this particular contract and the relationship as we move forward.
So clearly hoping to go and grow the business through this particular agreement. What else is on the radar? I know you've been busy when it comes to M&A activity. What else can we go and expect as investors?
Yeah, so we have had a busy 12 months. We've made around about 4 acquisitions. Our most recent acquisition was an acquisition of a Queensland headquartered business called On Platinum, around about 16 to 17 million turnover, but it's growing rapidly, and they service mid-market corporates across Australia, but predominantly Queensland and Sydney. So that's been a great acquisition. We acquired a business called Next Telecom around about 12 months ago. Similarly, revenue around the 15, 16, 17 million. That business is performing well. And if you look at how we now approach the market, how we sell to customers, we have 3 key divisions. We have our small to medium enterprise division, which we branded Next Telecom. We have our global division, which is called CommsGroup Global, and that's really the business that's announced this contract with Vodafone. And now we have an IT services business called On Platinum. Where we expect to expand further over the next 12 months is we're going to be looking at some further acquisitions in both that corporate space with IT services and also looking at increasing our geographical reach. We've got a target to get to 100 million revenue, probably within the next year to 2 years. We're north of 50 million now. This is a great organic contract for us. So that'll help us to grow our organic revenues. We'll also look to expand further into Asia over the next 12 months with our particular products and services that are relatively unique from an Australian company perspective. And that's our Microsoft Teams calling product that we'd be pushing heavily across into Asia. So they're the key things that we see on the horizon over the next 12 months.
Clearly really ambitious. Just to go and finish off, what are the longer term goals? Where do you want to go and take the company over the longer term?
Well, look, I think, longer term, we're talking, 2 to 3 years is probably short term in the life of a company. But, I indicated we want to see ourselves north of 100 million revenue. We want to be a national provider. But I think, if we look beyond that period, we'll clearly be more significant across the Asia Pacific region. It's still a difficult region for a lot of multinational corporates, and we tend to service the multinational corporates now. One thing we've done really well over the last 12 months is we've won contracts with circa a dozen multinational corporates, very large businesses, and we're continuing to win those. Some of those are Australian multinationals, others are global multinationals headquartered out of, say, Europe or the US. And as we move into Asia, we want to be seen as the go-to provider for these multinational corporates who want to deal in Asia and receive telco in Asia. And it's still quite difficult. Every country has a different regime. We take telco for granted in Australia. We have choice of providers here, etc. But across many parts of Asia, that's difficult. So I think longer term, we want to see ourselves being a major provider across the Asia Pacific region. And we'll selectively look to expand into the Northern Hemisphere, into Europe, off the back of this Vodafone contract, but also into the Northern Hemisphere, into the US at the appropriate time. So I think they're probably the longer term goals for the business.
Certainly a structural trend underway. Look to go and see how you are going to capitalise that in the future. Thank you so much for joining us on the program, Chief Executive there.
Thank you very much.
McGrath.